This is a follow-along ritual for the Aries New Moon. Welcome everyone, I am Karina and welcome to I Have Karina TV. In this video, I am providing for you a ritual to do for the Aries New Moon. This is a timeless video because every Aries season, we will have an Aries New Moon, and you can use this video in order to do your rituals. Specifically, we will focus on looking at your astrology. So what you will need in order to follow along successfully is to definitely have a candle. You also might want to light some sage or some Palo Santo. You will need your birth information. You'll need your birthday, your birthplace, and your birth time, okay? You'll also want to have a notebook or a blank page with pen or pencil in order to write. And then you will also just need to pay attention, as I'll also have a section where we will pull some cards. Let's begin.
Let's now begin. Sit back and relax.
The Aries New Moon is a time to start new things. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it is the ultimate mastery of initiation. When we look at Vedic astrology, the nakshatra kritika is the nakshatra that is about the starting catalyst. Okay, and so when we understand Aries New Moon, we know that the new moon is a time for new things, and it's a time to launch new things and plant those seeds. So in this new moon ritual, using the Aries energy, we are really focused on what new seeds you want to plant. Now, the other thing about an Aries new moon is that this is a time about self-identity. This is a time when you want to look at how you see yourself. What do you take pride in? How do you identify? Quite often, identity is interacting with something outside of you that makes you feel like it is you, right? For instance, what are your roles? Are you a mother, a father, a husband, a daughter, a son? You know, think about your roles during this new moon. What about your roles are you authentically being yourself? And what roles do you need to be more authentic? These are things that you want to keep in mind for an Aries new moon, because this is all about the I am. So the biggest question here is, who are you?
This universe holds my light. This universe knows my fight. I'm purposeful in my right. It's universal. This universe holds my light. This universe knows my fight. I'm purposeful in my right. It's universal.
Welcome to this section. We are going to focus on the Mars ruling planet of Aries. Mars is the planet of sexual desires. Right? It's that primal desire, that primal instinct. And so what we are going to do is do a pick a card session here. We're going to ask the cards, what do you need to understand about your desires right now? Okay, and we are going to use the Decameron Tarot to do this pick a card section. Let's begin. Okay, so we have in the first deck, this has the selenite. The second will have the black tourmaline, and the third will have the citrine. So take a moment to meditate on these crystals, seeing which one is pulling you the most. And now we are going to read, starting with pile 1. Okay, so for pile 1, if you chose pile 1, ooh, fairly explicit card here. We have the Magician. Now, let's set aside illusions. Keep our feet planted on the ground. Work and love. These are the secrets of life. Written by the author of the Decameron Tarot, and the interpretation of this card has a lot to do with the magic that you behold. And when it comes to your sexual desires, you may have some incredible abilities, charisma, a credible attraction, a pull towards anything that you want. So with the magician at the disposal of their own tricks, right? We can sometimes find that when you have everything and have access to everything, the access to everything sometimes can leave you in this place of almost not being fulfilled. It is the very reality and the illusions of everything, wanting everything, that sometimes isn't enough. So when you look at your sexual desires, where is it that things are not enough? Even if you have everything that it takes, you have the book of seduction, you have you could write a whole book on it. You could, talk about all of the sexual exploits that you've had. You can talk about all of the fantasies that you have. But what is real? What is right in front of you? Sometimes having everything or having all these experiences can leave you in this place where you're almost detached from what is right in front of you. So when it comes to your sexual desires, do not always lean into everything. Do not always lean into all the options and all the varieties. When you're doing your magic, you can't pull out every single tool in the toolbox. When you're doing any sort of work, you only need a couple of tools, the right specific ones, in order to get the job done. So when it comes to your job done and the people or the person that is in your life that you want to share these experiences with, what are the things that you need just for them? Forget about everything else and everything you've learned. And also focusing on them, making sure that you're catering yourself towards the other person. It's so important to look at how it is that we affect people. And the true intimacy and secret of life is about self-love and sharing it with others. And that's pile 1. Okay, now we're going to look at pile 2, which is the black tourmaline. Okay. Pile 2, we have got the Justice card. And some would say that this is upside down. But let's just turn it right side up so that we can see the awesome imagery of pile 2. If you've chose pile 2, this is your message. What's written for the Justice card in this deck is that fortune influences loving justice. Commitment and trust are the personal qualities necessary for a satisfactory solution to the problem. Now, when we look at this card, it's actually very much so connected to the Libra sign. And the interpretations of Libra is very connected to politics and gaining justice, okay? Now, when we look at your sexual desires and we understand this from that aspect, there's this level of having to be truly committed to something in order to see it be fulfilled. So there might be some energy here where you're starting things and not finishing them, right? Where you're not truly being on top of what it is that you need to be on top of. When you look at this card, she's got her knees on a pillow of skeletons, of skulls, on pillows of skulls, and she's blindfolded. It's almost as if there's this level of not seeing what it is that we are really doing. What are we really doing here? What are your intentions? Your intentions are important because they lay the groundwork for all that you're going to manifest. And I think it's actually really explicit and meaningful that she's got her legs open with her vagina like completely seen, because the vagina actually represents not only femininity but the womb and creativity, that which is being created. So it's like she's kneeling on top of these skulls, right? But she's also open to creativity, but also blind. There's one part that's open and the everything else is kind of like not being seen. I think that this has to do with you and a sexual partner and where it is that you are committed to them and what it is that you're not seeing. This might be your own malintentions or your partner's malintentions. The need for justice can actually clarify versus making them the bad guy. Really just understanding what it is that is happening here and how can you adjust to make it better for you? How can you create on top of that which seems kind of grotesque? How can you make it better for you? Sometimes we have blind spots. We have things that we are so wrapped up in that we're not able to see, the aspects that we need in order to make that slight adjustment. Justice is an important thing, and sometimes it may not seem so sexy. It may not seem so sexy to be committed. It may seem more sexier to you to be free and to be alive and to do whatever you want, but commitment is very sexy. When somebody's committed to something, it brings out a level of them that is a complete upgrade. So do you want to be upgraded? That's the question. And this goes from partnerships to just your sexual attraction. Sometimes you might think that the attraction is about, the things that you can do for people, the way that you can please people, please their genitals, go down on them, give head. Like you can be sexy, you can do sex, but how are you attractive? Attractive actually comes from the swag, from the style, from the commitment that you portray. Everybody's committed to something. When somebody wants to cheat on their partner, they're committed to finding other partners, and that's why they cheated on their partner. Or they're committed to self-satisfaction versus satisfaction of the two of you. So what you're committed to is very much connected to your sexual desires. And what you're committed to can either make you be repulsive or can make you be even more sexier. And that is the message for pile 2. Okay, we are going to look at pile 3 now with the citrine. If you chose pile 3, this is your message here. Woo, what a card this one is. Oh, we've got 4 people in the mix. I'm picking up a whole big old party. Some people are watching. People are watching you. People are watching you. This is the wheel. Let's read the interpretation from the Decameron Tarot. Okay, so the wheel, to the disenchantment of bad luck. We can compensate with solidarity and mutual help. Selfishness regarding sexual matters does not pay off. Now, this is really interesting because we did just talk about commitment and to other people and selfishness in part 2, in pile 2. Now, in pile 3, I'm discovering here that it takes it to another level. To the disenchantment of bad luck, we can compensate in solidarity and mutual help. Do you sometimes feel like you've been dealt the wrong cards? That would be so much easier if you could go back in time and change something that, you could have tweaked for yourself in order to really be self-satisfied. Or do you just wish that you had a different life, somebody else's life, or somebody else's deck of cards, somebody else's hand? I feel like this is really interesting because these two are actually gratifying one another on the wheel. And it is the 69 position in sexual positions. And these people are pleasing one another, but as they please one another in the 69 position, they receive that pleasure. It's sometimes the illusion or the feeling of jealousy or the feeling that you have bad luck or that you're not blessed in this life, right, can feel like feel like you're being separated. But it's really an illusion of separation because the truth is that we're all connected. And when it comes to your sexual exploits, your sexual desire or attractiveness, it's very possible that you may have felt that you aren't sexy, that you've been given a bad deck of cards or a bad body or a bad way of seeing sexuality. Maybe you're even dealing with a little bit of trauma. And I think in this deck and this card here for you, being able to see how service to others can actually bring you to the place of feeling like others are an extension of you. Right? When you please someone else, right? Where, like how she's giving head to this guy, he pleases her. So when you are able to serve others, again, others will give back to you. And while this feels like, I should be alone, I should do things on my own, I should do things in isolation, sometimes it is the very isolation that makes the whole thing fall apart, continues to perpetuate this idea of separation from others. So being in uncomfortable situations can be the most pleasurable. And you can see here that others are watching. So there might be this need that, you know, like you really want others to see you grow, to see you sexy, to be attracted by your presence, by what you do. And you have the capacity to do that. And you just have to find your own unique way in which you do that, in which you are completely you, but just as sexy as everybody else, right? When you please others, you get back in return even the doubly. Again, the last line is selfishness regarding sexual matters does not pay off. So it's not just about you getting your pleasures, but it's about you giving pleasure. And that's actually another aspect of sexuality that we don't always embody in the society right now. A lot of this society is about just self-pleasure, selfishness, taking care of self, being on your own, being okay with being on your own. But when you're ready to say, I need you to please me, I need you, that is the kind of vulnerable intimacy that truly creates big waves in how others are treating you and seeing you. To be vulnerable, to be open, and to give is the keys that will unlock a lot for you. And so that is the reading for pile 3. You want to go over to any sort of astrology chart. My favorite is astro.com. You're going to go to the natal chart ascendant and you're going to fill in your information right here. And it will look like this. You'll type in your first and last name and all of the info that they request of you. Okay. And for those of you who already know how to do this, you can just skip forward to the timestamp below so that we can get to how the Aries moon is going to impact your chart. Okay. Once you have your data up, you'll take a look and you're going to look for the glyph for Aries, which is right here. Right. And you might have some planets there. You can always find your planets by going over here to the left side if you need it. For those of you who already know how to read a chart, then it won't be a problem for you. And you just want to see what planets are going on in Aries. Now, at the time of the new moon, you want to find out where that moon is. Let me show you how to do that. You'll go back to, you'll just hit this chart. You'll see here where it says with transit. You're going to click that. And now you can see the outside planets. And then you'll find here the moon. The moon is right here in Aries. This is the symbol for the moon. And you can look and see if there are any planets that the moon falls next to right here. To see if you have any planets in Aries. Whether you have planets in Aries or not, where the new moon is landing for you is going to speak of where you might want to focus on new beginnings. Okay. Now, this is what we would call the house. So you can also read the house of where Aries is in your chart. And depending on where, which house it is, right here starts 1, right? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You can learn more about reading birth charts in my course if you want to check below. But this is all that you'll need in order to find where the Aries new moon is falling in your chart. Okay, so check the next bump and I'll tell you, depending on which house the Aries new moon falls, what you need to focus on when we do our new moon intentions. Thank you.
She already knows. If you're quiet, you can hear her sing like a Goliath. What is she summoning? If you're quiet, you can hear her sing like a Goliath. What is she summoning? What is she? What is she? What is she?